Hi, everyone. My name is Maribel Mendoza, and I'm the product manager for Gaggle's Web Filter. We know that schools are facing more and more digital safety challenges than ever before. Specifically for websites, the latest statistic is that there's about 250,000 new websites that are created every day. That is a lot to keep up with. So our newest features for Gaggle Web Filter are designed to keep students safer, reduce the IT workload, and make policy management easier. As Carrie just shared, we've got a lot of powerful functionality to protect students. The web filter is a great complement to our safety solution. I like to think of the web filter as that lock on the front door or the moat around the castle that's going to stop those new and potentially harmful sites from reaching your students. But to handle just that sheer volume of new sites, we really had to reimagine web filtering for this modern age. We had to leverage AI and machine learning. So that we could focus on the sites that students are actually visiting, not just try to cover static lists. So for back to school, we're very excited to address the concern of that sheer volume of the number of websites that are created. We are addressing this with our dynamic web filter. Our dynamic web filter uses machine learning to instantly assess the content of an uncategorized site, whether that's a brand new site, a proxy site, or any other new content. And it's going to automatically categorize it before applying your existing policies. So what that means for you is that, for example, if there's a high school student whose policy allows for gaming and they go to a brand new, newly created gaming site, our dynamic web filter is going to dynamically assess the content, determine it's a gaming site, look at his policy and say, okay, this high school student is allowed, so we'll allow it. Similarly, if there's a middle school student whose policy does not allow for gaming, our dynamic web filter will assess it and categorize it as gaming, apply their policy for gaming, and block it. This happens all in real time, often in just a few seconds. So the very first time they visit it, it might take a few seconds to dynamically assess the content. But the next time they try, that site is already in our system and it's blocked instantly. In the demo, you'll get a taste of that. And I'll also share our latest updates around policies. We've got some new types. We've got the ability to set time schedules and a new penalty box option for when you need to restrict access. I'll also show you the latest with our approach to YouTube and give you a preview of our auto blurring feature that's now available. So let me jump into the demo and show you these features in action. Share my screen. All right. So we are starting in our activity reports. So for our existing, just one second, I just need to move my screen around here a little bit. For our existing Gaggle web filter customers, you'll see we're in the same portal and we just are in the web filter area and we're in activity reports here. So in our activity reports, this is where you'll see information at the district level, the school level, and the user level. So as we saw, with Carrie's demo, Hayden is a very active student, so he's at our top active users. So we'll go into policies, and I'll show you a little bit about our policy types. Whoops. All right. So as you can see here in our policies, we have, as I mentioned, we have new policy types. So currently, you have your default policies that are applied straight out of the box. Our web filter is CIPA compliant on installation with our default policies. You have group policies that are mapped to your organizational units. And so your high school policies, your middle school policies, your elementary school policies, those are all part of a group policy. A layer on top of that, you have your user policies. So in my example here, you see we have the esports club for high school. So this is, you want to apply a set of rules that apply to a subset of users. And then we have the penalty box. So penalty box will instantly restrict a student's access to only very specifically approved sites, which is great for intervention or discipline without a full shutdown of their system. And then the time-based element lets you add the element of the element of time to your policies that you can apply across policies. So let's go through and do that to show you how we would do that. So I'm going to create a new policy, and I'm going to let's call this the middle school social media club. Maybe there's a social media club that's going to investigate how middle school students are using social media. So it is a user policy. And this is going to be maybe the fall club. So we can import a list of our users. Since this is a user level policy, if we have already a roster of students that are a list of those students that are in the middle school social media club, or we can enter the students one by one. So let me see, maybe Scarlett. Once I start typing, you'll see students' names will pop up. Maybe I'll add Oscar as well. And so you can start adding your students. Here you can see that I can set a schedule. So if this is my after school social media club, you can see that there are some schedules that I've already pre-selected or pre-made. But I see the school day for middle school, I see the school day for high school, and I see the after school club, but that's for the high school time. So I don't see my middle school policy, so I'm going to come back to that. But I can select the policies the categories that I want to allow. So for this is my social media club at the middle school. I'm going to allow them to use AI tools. This is something that our web filter allows for you to select to block or allow AI tools at a policy level. But I'm going to block these. I'm going to give them access to social media and to streaming. And this is where I wanted to focus a little bit about our YouTube settings and how we're approaching this a little bit differently. So because we have dynamic web filter, which I mentioned, that can dynamically assess the content of a site, we can do that at the video level, at the URL level for YouTube. So we know that YouTube has a lot of great educational content, but it also has a lot of content that isn't great and educational. And so what our dynamic web filter allows is for you to set a setting based on the ratings. So we'll dynamically assess, and rather than categorize it, since we know the category is a video, we will apply a rating, an FCC rating. So this is like TVG, TVPG, TV14, and TVMA. We know that at the one end, the TVG, that's content that we want to allow. That's generally, everybody will have access to it. On the other end, the TVMA, that's content that we always want to block. We know that TVMA is not appropriate for school hours. But those two categories in the middle, the TVPG and the TV14, this is where you can set allow it, block it, or a new option is to warn students. So students will start to have some agency and start to be able to make a good choice about whether they continue. If something is maybe potentially not appropriate for school hours, they will see a warning message and they can decide, do I want to continue or do I want to not continue? So in our example here, we are setting I'm setting this policy for middle school. So I'm going to set TVPG as allowed, and I'll keep TV14 as warned. And then the other nice thing with YouTube that we have is we have the ability to block it altogether. We know that students will use YouTube Shorts. I'm sorry, I said YouTube Shorts specifically, allow blocking of YouTube Shorts specifically. We know that YouTube Shorts is not typically where educational content is. And most often, and I hear from many students, including my own children, YouTube Shorts is where students go when they don't have access to Instagram or TikTok. It just gets posted a little later. So with our filter, you can turn that off completely. So we're going to go ahead and create that policy. So it's just that easy. Now, I want to come back to the time-based schedules. I wanted to show how easy it is to create a new time-based schedule. So we had the after-school club for the high school, but we want to create one specifically for the middle school that maybe has different hours. So this is after school, but this is going to be for my middle school. And so middle school maybe the school day ends at 3, and the clubs only meet until 4:30. So we can set a specific start time and end time for this time schedule. We can even set the time zone, and we can set the days of the week that it applies. And let's say at the middle school, there is no clubs on Fridays. So we're only going to apply it Monday through Thursday. And then we can select a color so we can easily find it in our policies. So now we have this. And the nice thing is that you can create these time schedules and then come back and apply them to your policies. So we created this middle school social media club, and we can choose to now apply our after school hours for the middle school and save that. So now our policy that we just created for middle school social media access is only after school from 3 to 4:30. So those are our enhancements to policies, to YouTube, and to adding that element of time. Now I'm going to switch views a little bit and share a different screen. I'm going to share my student view. So now we're back to Hayden, and this is Hayden on a different day. Let me see if I'm sharing. Are we seeing Sabrina Carpenter? Okay, so Hayden's a big fan of Sabrina Carpenter. It's a different day. He's maybe not in the same frame of mind that he was in during Carrie's demo. And you can see here that he's a big fan, but there's some images where Sabrina's not wearing as much clothing. And so our auto blur feature kicks in, and you can see the images of Sabrina where it's, she's fully clothed, but the ones that are a little more risque are automatically blurred. So he can still see some images of Sabrina. And then I'm going to show you this. I have to play a video because our dynamic web filter is so fast that once it categorizes information, it just blocks the site immediately. But I wanted to show you what the dynamic web filter looks like in action, where it's automatically assessing and the content of a site and categorizing it. So in this video, Hayden, being the big Sabrina Carpenter fan that he is looking into, the latest dating rumors that he heard. And so he goes to Google and he clicks on an article, and he's reading through the article. He starts reading, and the content of the sites maybe has something that's inappropriate. So you see here that by now our dynamic web filter has blocked the site. He's wondering what happened. Let me go back to it, but now it blocks immediately. So that's our dynamic web filter in action. And that wraps up my demo for web filter. So I'll turn it back over to Maura.
Thank you,
Oh,
Maribel.
actually, before we go, I do have something else. Sorry. Sorry, Maura, to interrupt you. I wanted to talk about what's coming up next for web filter. If we could go to that slide.
Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah. I think there's so much that's happened recently. Sometimes we forget we still have things in motion.
Yes, yes, we're very excited to continue. As Chris mentioned, we're doing some great work to bring you some very valuable new ways of keeping your students safe. So, but it doesn't stop. And so we're continuing this work. We're going to focus on adding that warn capability on additional web filter categories. So you saw the option to do it in YouTube videos based on the rating. There are some other categories where as students start to learn more and really focus on their digital citizenship and want to have more agency, bringing in more opportunities for them to make those good choices. We also know that our dynamic web filter, we've tested it thoroughly. We're very proud of it. We're very excited, but we want to hear from you, and we want to hear if there's something that gets miscategorized or you think should be categorized differently. So we're bringing in an option for you to give us that feedback directly within the product. So just to make it easier for you to engage with us on any of those new pieces of functionality, and then share that with us. And then the other exciting thing that we're working on for later on this fall is a parent portal. So we know that there's we want to give parents more visibility into their child's activity. And so promoting transparency, again, bringing in digital citizenship, and in some case, compliance with legislative requirements. And so we'll have that option as well for our customers.